How's it going, people? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another Fourever Arsenal podcast exclusive to YouTube this year. Obviously, we've moved on to YouTube. You should know it already. If you do know it, hit the like button because we're getting support week in, week out. A lot of people's favorite podcast on AFTV, and a lot of people are asking us to be on Spotify and all podcast platforms. It's coming, people. If not this one, the next one, we will be coming to all podcast platforms. So look out for it. We will announce it when it does happen. As you can see, James is nodding there, so it is imminent. So look out for that, people. It is coming. We got Jordan.
Approval.
There you go.
He's not lying.
There you go. There you go. James is the boss. He knows what's going on. He knows what's going on.
Hardly.
Robbie's right-hand man.
I wish.
Big up James. Big up Lee. Big up Jordan as usual. We're back again. And yeah, it's a 3-0 win against Bodo. Pretty much business as usual. A very heavily rotated side. But we've come out unscathed, clean sheet, and we keep it moving. The third game in a row, we scored 3 goals after Brentford 3-0, Tottenham 3-1, and now 3-0 against Bodo. Heading into what is now what is always a massive game against Liverpool. But this season, something feels a bit different. We're going into that game on form. A lot of people's favourites going into that game, whereas Liverpool are going in a bit of a messy situation, to say the least. I do want to touch in on Bodo and, you know, a few performances and a few maybe shouts for Premier League football for some of those players. But let's focus heavily on the Liverpool game in this pod, considering we're only about 48 hours away from it. Jordan, let's start with you as usual.
Comes again with him first.
Go and leave first. Yeah.
I saw both of you yesterday, so I thought, let me go with the guy.
Okay. No, go on. You go first, Jordan. Go on.
Oh, thank you.
I'll go first then. So
just before I start, I just want to mention we've got some real muppets watching this show that don't listen properly and really give some rubbish feedback. But we've also got some fantastic people as well. I want to just quickly big up the security guy at the Emirates, who loves the show. I'll give him a shout out. I bumped into Cesc Fabregas. I was having dinner on Saturday. He was on a table behind me in a restaurant in Mayfair, and he doesn't listen to watch Fourever Arsenal, but he knows about the platform.
Jordan, man. I was about to get so.
But don't say we've got to start speaking in Spanish.
No. But he loves the general platform, and he said big up to all the guys, and he knows he recognizes Robbie. So I just wanted to shout out those two people who
thanks for that news, Jordan. I met Cesc Fabregas, and he loves Robbie. Thanks. That's good.
So despite all the idiots that listen to watch our program, there's a lot of good people that love it as well.
I'm glad I'm up at 8 a.m. So
for that.
So Fabregas can love Robbie.
It feels great, you know.
Listen. Just briefly on the game. Standard 3-0 win. I'm obviously fuming because I was 10 minutes away from getting my first ever prediction correct. I'm not happy with who was it? Vieira at all. But hey, I'm not gonna lie. I was hoping to hit the crossbar. I was hoping that he's gonna hit the crossbar.
Ridiculous.
Actually, Jordan, sorry, I gotta cut you off here because James will remember this. During the watch along yesterday, we got a super chat that said Jordan was just on media and he was asked about certain players, and he mentioned who he won't name.
I did.
And everyone said you can't do it when you're working professionally. Now you come on the podcast, you got to act up.
I did. Oh my god, I've been rumbled. That's Australia. That's in Australia for God's sake. Bloody hell.
Everyone's listening.
Imagine Jordan earning an exclusive interview with Granit Xhaka, and he sits there.
Mate,
I'm here with he who must not be named.
The Swiss captain. That's what I'd probably refer to him as. Listen, standard performance, standard win from the guys. Couple of mentions. I mean, Tomiyasu must be really, really, really vexed because he can't do any more. Ben White is, I think, undroppable at the moment, but Tomiyasu, of all the players that played last night, I think is the closest to being in that starting 11. Sambi Lokonga, he's good. He's not ready. He's not. I'm not seeing enough from him to make me. Those are the games where Sambi Lokonga. I know he's young, but those are the games for me in the Europa League against okay opposition. I need him to really stand out in. I need him to boss those midfield. And I just think he didn't do anything that was attractive to me. Kept it simple, did all right. Nice 6 out of 10 performance. But I'm like, if you can't boss and dominate and stand out in those games, I'm concerned about if he I won't name and Partey aren't in the 11, whether you coming or not. It's a shame that the likes of El Nene and Emil Smith-Rowe are have long-term injuries, because again, those are the games where they'll be playing and trying to push for a start in the first team. Matt Turner made a very good save in the second half, got down low, saw a shot quite late, but yeah, pretty standard. I thought it was interesting, but my final point, that he brought on Gabriel Jesus, Saka, and Ben White. I didn't understand it at first. I can only assume he didn't want those guys to go, a whole game without getting some minutes and staying warm. So I'd like to think that it was just kind of just thinking, just keep them ticking over, keep them relatively, match sharp ahead of the big one on the weekend. But yeah, they didn't cause us many problems, to be honest. I thought it was a fairly standard routine match. Nketiah, good goal, could have done more. But yeah, there's not really much more to say from me in terms of the game.
I was very surprised by the general fallout, not with who I spoke to, but kind of elsewhere online, was that it was a fantastic performance. Arsenal were excellent again. I really didn't get that sense. I'm not here to kind of, trying to shit on a 3-0 win. Don't get me wrong, especially when you've heavily rotated. But I didn't come away thinking, cool, that was impressive. I was just sort of happy that we were able to make so many changes, give the right minutes to the right players, and keep things ticking, really. But I didn't walk away from it thinking, wow, we've kind of blown teams. And I really do think 10 games into this season, and our two worst performances for me were the 2 Europa League performances, which were both still fine, good. I really do think the Man United one, when you take into account the opposition, Old Trafford, all that, I still think, despite the defeat, that was actually a better performance. I came away from it more impressed in terms of how we imposed our game. So these are about keeping it ticking, and they did that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's an improved performance on the Zurich game. I think in the Zurich game, you could tell it was a heavily rotated side, and maybe they needed to get familiar with each other a bit more. But I saw a bit more fluidity. I think the best thing we can take out of it is we won 3-0, and we didn't really get out of gear 3, let's say.
Exactly.
There was a couple more gears to our game. And similar to the Tottenham one, where at 3-1, you want to just go and smash them. I feel like we just played it smart and just got over the line and didn't risk any injuries, anything. When Arteta brought on the big guns with 20 minutes to go, I was thinking to myself, is it necessary? Marquinhos probably deserves the 90, considering he doesn't get many minutes elsewhere, but they've come through unscathed. We got the 3-0 win, and you mentioned Tomiyasu, Jordan, and I agree with you. I think he's knocking heavily on the door. I'd probably say Tierney's just above him in terms of knocking on the door for starting the bigger games, especially because against Tottenham, Zinchenko slotted in instead of Tierney. But look how much Tierney's played for us over the years in the big games and how happy we've been with him. Overall, I think it was a perfect performance. No injuries, 3-0, clean sheet, and you keep it moving. Lee, you was at the game. Diamond Club?
Yeah, no, we was only in club level, a little bit of an exclusive.
Only club level, okay.
Yeah, only club. Talking to Elneny's brother yesterday, he's about 4 weeks away from coming back into the team. So just as the World Cup starts, he's going to be back, which is no good to us really. But a little exclusive for you,
Well, Egypt ain't in the World Cup, so they're not, are they?
No. So just as the season probably closes, he's going to be back, so a bit more.
It's actually good timing, really, when you think about it, because he'll get that time to.
Yeah, like another 6 weeks, and a bit more of an exclusive than Cesc Fabregas loves Robbie. You know what I mean? But there you go, So
that information is far more useful to me.
Thank you, James. Thank you. And I know. Look, listen, I've been on it. Today. A little feature that we're going to do for the best comment of the day.
I bet you. Look at you. You stitched me up there well and truly, Lee. You are.
No. I think this is a very good one. I decided to go with this one this week. It's Guna 8 David. Loving the content, guys. Even Jordan is growing on me like a nasty rash. Every pantomime needs its villain. Big up all 4 of you. great show. So I think that's a fantastic thing. Like, and considering you're calling people idiots, I think that's a very good one to go with, like today. Like, so,
yeah, it's not so bad. Not so bad.
That's not bad. So listen, I thought it was
sorry, Lee. Hang on. The fact I'm not having this, a World Cup winner likes our wider family platform, and you guys are barking at that. All right, you might not be a fan of our show, but we're an AFTV
Yeah,
family.
the way you dropped it, I was about to say, yo, Cesc likes the show. We need to bring him on one day or something. But...
Maybe I worded it a bit wrong.
It was the setup. If you just come in with, by the way, Fabregas loves AFTV, I probably would have thought, but it was, I met Fabregas.
And listen to this.
Okay, yeah, and he loves Robbie. Oh,
So last time I bring you lot news.
Yeah.
In all seriousness, that is great.
Can we have that in writing, please? Can we have that in writing? You know what I mean?
No, but actually, in all seriousness, because we are all trolls.
I've got to say about yesterday, I thought they were a definite upgrade on Zurich. I thought they was a much better team than if I'll be honest. So to get a 3-0 win is very, very good. I bet I'll say this now: we won't beat them 3-0 out there. I'll tell you, we're finding it a lot tougher.
Yeah.
I thought their fans, by the way, were amazing yesterday. Like 3-0, still singing. Not an empty seat at the end of the game. Like really were there to enjoy themselves, whatever the result, and they put on a performance that caused us a few problems. If I have one criticism of Arsenal at this moment in time, and it's not a concern, but it is slightly starting to worry me now, is that we are not ruthless enough in front of goal. We should have won that by about 5-6 in the end. We was very, very wasteful on chances. And if you look back, it's cost us against Manchester United. And really, that is my only concern. If I'm actually looking at that and thinking, and it's a little nibble of criticism, there ain't a lot really to criticise. Job done yesterday. I actually went for 4-0 yesterday. 3-0 was probably about, but on par. That they're not as bad as what people would say that they were. They're not going to, I think they might have even come second in this group. They've got a point at PSV already and what they do at home now. So next week will be interesting. I'm with you, guy. I thought Tommy Essa yesterday played. It's like I was watching. I actually said to the guys yesterday, like Robbie and Julian, I said he's a class above, and he's just unlucky that he's not in the side at the moment. But you cannot just say drop Ben White at the moment because he's playing that well. Who do you leave out? I thought Gabriel played well yesterday. Shows that he was the leader of the two yesterday. Fantastic goal, by the way, from Rob Holding. Fantastic goal that was. I thought Tierney played well yesterday, and I think with the worry of Shinchenko not being even in the squad yesterday shows you that there's got to be a little bit of a concern there. But Tommy Asu can play left back, central defence, right back. He actually went over to left back and looked good. So he's knocking on the door. Fantastically well. And I'm with Jordan with Lukonga here. I had a little watch at Lukonga, and I'm going to relate him to Eddie a little bit. Eddie's a different person this season, physically. He brushes off players and everything like that. I think Lukonga's got to get himself down in the gym a little bit and beef up a little bit. If you want to dominate a midfield, I think he's neat and tidy. I agree with what Jordan's saying there, like that. But if he's going to dominate, he's just got to get stronger in there. But when you're in that sort of position, you just tick by in games like that. It's very hard to say, right, I'm going to impress because I'm sort of holding midfield player. What can you do? Go on bursting runs, do this and that. He's just done his job. I know exactly what Jordan's saying. I don't think he can really do much more than what he did. But
that's fair.
I do feel that he needs to just beef up a little bit, So, and I'm with you on this, sir. Didn't really want to see the big boys come on, but when they did, it was a pleasure to watch. I have to say, that little turn from Jesus for the third goal. Oh my God! The guy, he's got so much ability. He's just he's come on there at 3-0, and his work rate, just tells me what it is players watching that in that squad have got to look at it and go, he's a superstar player. He's come on 3-0 up in a Europa League game, and he's put it in as like it was a Premier League game. And that just shows you the attitude of these players. You know, the bar has been raised by all of them. And you can see that. I thought it was a good performance. And I think that I'm loving watching Arsenal at the moment. I'm absolutely loving watching them. And I have not said that for a very, very long time.
Can I talk about Fabio Vieira?
Yeah, of course.
I really like him.
Oh, I like him.
Yeah.
And we had a good chat, didn't we, on Full Time yesterday, Turkish, about Vieira. And actually, when you look at what is still actually a very limited set of appearances, you can point to two very, very neat goals, good finishes, one from distance, one run into the box, 3 chances in the first half that I'd forgotten about 2 of them. And you were right. The one where he drags at the near post, the one where he darts towards goal at that tight angle, and the third, which I've forgotten about. Which was the third?
Remember he hit the crossbar?
Yes. Yeah, that was the first one. You're right. So he was getting in the box all day. I think when you look back at the Zurich game, that ball in behind to Eddie is what really sparks the counter. You got the goal against Brentford from distance, which was excellent. And then yesterday, the most impressive thing of all of those, even though the goal against Brentford was obviously brilliant, I love that assist because when the corner comes out and he gets the ball, his first touch is immaculate, which means the defender can't really commit to it immediately and has to stand him up. He shimmies to feint going the other way, drags it onto his left foot, and then puts a brilliant ball onto Rob Holding's head. And as good a header as it is from Rob Holding, he's able to just guide and redirect that pace and trajectory of the ball into that low corner.
Remember, James, when we first signed him, it was me and you, I think we was doing a live, and we looked at the differences between him and Odegaard, and the main difference was where he gets the ball into the box and where Odegaard gets the ball to the person who's running into the box. That was the major difference, and that was the exact area that we saw him get most of his balls into the box for in Portugal last year.
Yeah, that is exactly it, actually. And we looked at, you're right, we looked at his goals and assists, and I think we drew a diagram with arrows of kind of where he stands to where the ball goes. And
well, I'll have to watch that then.
Well, it came out 3 months ago, Lee, but thank you for your continued support on the channel. And that is exactly the kind of area he is.
Fabregas saw it.
What did he say? Somebody saw it.
Fabregas saw it.
Can I say, by the way, I know we're all trolls, Fabregas was my idol growing up. So actually the fact he loves the channel means a lot to me. The fact he loves Robbie.
I actually want to get him.
Why don't you go and draw some arrows?
Yeah, I really hate you.
Coach, I'm going to call you now. Like, you know what I mean? Sitting ball.
What are you going to call me?
Sitting ball.
What does that even mean?
Well, Indian, like they liked arrows, didn't they? Like, it don't matter. It's gone right over your head, like, a bit like that arrow.
Okay, thank you so much, Lee Judges, for that valuable contribution to the podcast.
My pleasure. Carry on.
He looks really good. He looks really good, Fabio Vieira. That he really does have an eye for goal and an appetite to get in the box and get into those areas. And he clearly, as you said yesterday, again on Full Time, to actually backs his finishing, because a few times, you're right, he's feinting for the far post and going near post, and that shows a degree of confidence. How often at any level, especially when you're new to a team, you think he just hit the bloody target, and this guy's trying to place them well. I thought yesterday's finish, for a sec, I thought, oh, he nearly skied that, but actually, when you look back at the replay, the guy was coming across on the line. He knew, I've got to kind of put this quite high and wide, and he nailed it. So he
arrowed it straight in, didn't he? Bosh.
Just stop it. I know what you're doing there.
Bosh.
Yes, well done to him. And Odegaard, who I think's had a good start, not a great start, but he's had a good start. We'll know to keep his levels up. But I think there's you wonder whether could Vieira play out on the right or the left? I don't really see why not. You might have to rejig it a bit. I mean, if you've got Vieira wide left instead of Martinelli, maybe you want Tierney overlapping to have that. You can mix it up. But listen, these are great options for Arsenal.
Oh, yeah. I agree. I think, Odegaard would have sat there yesterday. I think, Odegaard's still in charge and all that. But I did see, and I thought that, I'll be honest, Vieira looks a little bit more potent going in the fight, line off. So he'd be sitting there and, thinking to himself, well, I've got to not step up, but I've got to just watch myself. You know what I mean? I've got to play well. What does that do? It means that, you know, he's on his toes, and he's going to have to produce good performances because, you know, that's what you want. I thought Vieira was very good yesterday. Vieira, Tierney, and Tomiyasu were my three standouts. But I actually now have watched Vieira in 2 games, and the first thing I've noticed is his first touch is sublime. He has got, you know, the ball. Even in that game against Brentford, he was finding it difficult at first. What he done, I thought was very, very clever. He just made about 3 or 4 quick touches, good touches, just to feel himself into the game. He knew he could get on the ball yesterday, and I thought he was. I'm beginning to warm to him, and he shoots.
I'm reserved on him. I like him, but I get who was the guy we signed 2 years ago? Not Saliba. Salibas? What's his name? From Betis, we got him on loan, and then I think did we sign him for 2 years? What's his name? Ceballos.
Not from Real.
Yeah, Real. Sorry, yeah. He gives me them kind of vibes. Good first touch, neat and tidy. Can get a goal. I like him. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just reserving judgment. I think he needs another year in the Prem to really kind of get used to the robust nature. I'm not one of those people that believes you have to be 6'4" and huge to be able to be a midfielder in the Prem. David Silva wasn't big, Cazorla wasn't big, but I think he needs to get used to the robustness to be able to combine, you know, bouncing players off while still being the creative and diminutive player that he is. And that can take a year, I think, for players that are quite small and diminutive. So while I think he's neat and tidy and I like what I see technically from him, I think he might need a whole year before we really see the player that I think you guys are maybe seeing now.
I agree 100%. He has to get used to what the Premier League brings. He didn't play many games last year in Portugal. He was a standout performer from not a handful of games, just over a handful of games. So the outlay, the money spent was quite surprising. But I think you can agree, Jordan. There's something there. There's something there. If he can acclimatize himself to the physical nature of the league, then we could have a player on our hands. And you, man, mentioned the competition. Look at Tierney since Zinchenko's come in. Tierney's mentioned about inverted fullback. He's mentioned talking to the Celtic fullback about how he works in the inverted way. You got Tomiyasu, who we've talked about him being a class above. He can't even get a look in with Ben White in front of him. Vieira soon to be knocking on Odegaard's door. I know Eddie hasn't. It's hard to knock on Gabriel Jesus' door, but so far so good in terms of Eddie coming on and making use of it.
I agree.
And this is what it's all about, you know. If we've waited years. I said it to James on full time. I said it's a shame that we've got, Tierney and Zinchenko for one position, but it's not. This is what we've been crying out for years. We wanted 2 quality players in every position. We haven't got it in every position, but we're starting to get it in a lot of positions. And the term knocking on the door has come about a couple of times so far on this podcast. And we've got Liverpool next. Has anyone opened that door for the starting 11 this Sunday, or do we go straight in again, similar to Tottenham last weekend?
So just very quickly for me, no, because the first team were doing so well, but someone like Tomiyasu, for example, who I thought was again excellent yesterday. I mean, what he offers defensively, it's like what you think you've got around him and you haven't, basically. This is my semi-hot take for the show, and it's not even really one. But if, say, something were to happen to Saliba, he picks up a suspension or a minor injury, and we've got to bring a player in, I would sooner bring Tomiyasu into centre-back and keep White at right-back, which goes against everything we did last season, which was Tomiyasu right-back and White centre-back. But White is doing so unbelievably well in that role, and I think overlaps actually a little bit better than Tomiyasu does. Maybe offers a little bit more of a natural attacking threat. Tomiyasu's 6'2", superb in the air, awesome defensively, and good on the ball. I think he's playing so well that kind of, if anything were to happen at right back or centre back, Tomiyasu's the next. And I know Holding actually did really well for me last night, but I wouldn't kind of go rejigging the whole shape of the defence. I'd go, Tomiyasu, you've got plenty for that position, and I'd chuck him in there. Anyone else tempted by that? Or
more of a warm take, that, James. But yeah, I hear what you're saying.
About as tepid as Fabregas loves Robin.
I wouldn't.
No, that didn't do nothing for me. I don't know about you, Turkish. I think Jordan's being nice. You know what I mean? Like,
well, what would you do, smart ass? What would you have?
Go on, Lee.
Well, Tommy S has just got to be patient. He's going to have to wait in here.
Would you play at centre back?
No.
Oh, there you go. So
I think I'd play if we did have an injury to Saliba, I would play. I'd play Ben White in there.
I agree. Only because Gabriel and Ben White did play well together last year, so yeah. We know that works. I don't think what you're saying is the worst shout, but just because we know that Gabriel and Ben White work well together,
yeah,
we know that works. So that would be my first kind of portal call. So sorry, Lee, I interrupted you again.
No, I got a lot. I think the same. It's the same team. I just think that it could be like Tierney could be. I think with their wide players, I would probably go with Tierney anyway on this game. And if Zinchenko's not quite fit enough, that would be the only change I made. I think I know it was only like a Europa League game last night, but I think Tierney needed a good performance yesterday, just to remind you how good he is. And he is very, very good, by the way. He's a good defender. And let's be honest, we wouldn't be having this conversation if he was playing week in, week out, and that is a fact. But why he's fit and playing like this, I think he may. And I'd be a little bit disappointed if I was Tierney, if I'll be honest. If Zinchenko's not trained all week and then come straight back into the team, I would look at that and go, well, what have I got to do here? So I think it's I'm not going to criticise or say it's the wrong thing if Zinchenko plays, but I think Tierney's done enough to just say, look, if he is injured, let's keep him back until he is fully fit, because we've got a fully fit Tierney playing really well. So that's how it would be the only change that I would make.
I don't.
As much as listen, Zinchenko adds something completely different, but we're talking about Salah here, and it's not the same Salah that we used to seeing, but it's a Salah that's broken records in this league. He's been a top goal scorer for years, and there's a strong argument that Tierney is a lot more solid defensively than Zinchenko is. So I just want to go around quickly and say, if both are fit, if Zinchenko has a couple of days training under his belt, James, do you go with Zinchenko over Tierney this Sunday? Yeah, Lee, do you go with Zinchenko or Tierney?
Tierney.
Tierney. Jordan?
Zinchenko,
Zinchenko. I'd say Tierney, so it's 2-2.
I say Zinchenko only because when you're the best team in the league, and mathematically we are, and you're on form and you're playing well, even if you're playing against a good team, and Liverpool are in poor form, but they're still a good team, I still feel you don't change for anybody. Let them change for us. It's different if this was last year and the Liverpool were on fire, and you have to adjust for the bigger opponent. When you're the guy, no. Why are we changing for you? You change for us. And you mentioned earlier on, Turkish, we've got two good left backs there, so we're kind of splitting hairs there a little bit. There are differences for sure, but I wouldn't be angry with either option left back on the weekend, to be honest. But I'm like, we're playing well. We're at home. You worry about us. You change your team for us. So I wouldn't change our team for that reason. I agree with you that Tierney's maybe a little bit more defensively solid than Zinchenko. But I think let's worry about what we do well going forward. And I think as much as I'm a big Tierney fan, and I've given my views on Zinchenko's signing, I think he's done nothing wrong. And I think if he's fit, that's the key. If he's fit and ready to go, I would keep the.
So is it that time then? Sorry, Jordan. Is it that time? Because 8 games. Well, I say 8 games ago. Let's say before the season started, a lot of people's predictions were Arsenal need to make top 4. They might not. They just haven't done enough in the window to maybe warrant a title challenge or to be in and around. Has the first 8 games of the season meant the way we've approached it meant that this Sunday, let's say, a draw would be a disappointment for us?
100%. I was going to come to this as well. I don't have any hot takes on the team itself, but what I think is that this is a massive game, because if we win this game, my maths could be slightly off here, yeah. I think we're 14 points ahead of Liverpool.
Correct.
Is it 14 points?
Hand, but yeah, it'd be 14.
Okay, fair enough.
That game in hand is Chelsea away.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So we're getting to the point now whereby if we win this game, we could not only knock Liverpool out of the title race, we could potentially put them in a position whereby they're scrapping for top 4. We could really not only boost our chances and stay top of the league, we could really damage a rival, a big rival in this top 4 race. And I think we could look back when we get to March, and if we lose this game, think, oh, if we'd have won that game, we could have really, really, squashed one of our rivals or seriously harmed a rival. This is a massive game for us. We're at home. And if you can beat Spurs and Liverpool back to back and bank 6 points against 2 top 4 rivals, I think that sets us up really, really well going as we approach the World Cup. So I don't think this is a game to be. Liverpool are a good team. They're in poor form. But if we pass up this opportunity, I think we could regret it. Would I take a draw right now? I wouldn't, I don't think I would. We are playing really well and we are at home. And it's very, very rare you get a chance to put your foot on the neck of a rival when you're on form and they're off form. We have to be ruthless and take this opportunity. Salah's a bad boy. He can turn it on. Firmino's a bad boy. They've got really good players, but we got good players as well. And I really hope the likes of he who I won't name, another big game for him. If he can replicate what he did against Spurs on the weekend, I might have to start calling him by his first name at least. You know what I mean? Calling him G. You know what I mean? I might have to. You know what I mean? Call him G. Something like that, because these are the games where, for me, he let us down. And it wasn't the games against Bodo Glimt in the Europa League that he let us. It was the big games he cost us. Against Spurs, he won us that game. Against Liverpool, win us the game again. So for me, this is a massive game, not only because of where we are, but for the ramifications, where it takes us, but the harm it can do to Liverpool as well.
What about you, Lee? You tend to agree
with
that?
I totally agree. I totally agree with what Jordan's saying. That beginning of the season, you'd have actually said the 2 nailed-on positions for top 4 were Manchester City and Liverpool. Mm-hmm. Now that may not be the case now, so that opens the door for someone, and we've got a chance here. And Jordan makes a great point there. Like, Liverpool are a good team, but they're not in form. Don't let them get their form against us, and then all of a sudden they're on a roll. You know what I mean? Like, keep them down there. You know what I mean? Now, how many times have we gone to Anfield not in form and been slapped? You know what I mean? That is what we've got to do. We've got to this to me is a massive statement performance. This, Tottenham ones, the passion, everything like that. But this one there is a statement one for me. This one will tell me a lot more about this team and where we're going to be going, because this is a pressure game, because it's a rival game. It's not like the Arsenal and Spurs where you got all the euphoria of it and everything like that. This is a game. Also, I'm going to say it now. I think a lot of people will look at it expecting Arsenal to win this game. And the thing for me, which is really, really important, we're at home. We've got to nail this home advantage every single time we play. Now, people keep going on to me, we won't be a good side until we beat Manchester City away or Liverpool away or Spurs away, get one. They're very, very tough to do. But what we've got to do is improve on what we're doing at home. Last season, too easily, Liverpool come here and beat us. Too easily, Chelsea come and beat us. Win those games, and all of a sudden we are 10, 15 points better off than what we were last season. And that's what we've got to do. Must win on Sunday. And I'll be very, very disappointed if we don't, on the way Liverpool have been playing. If Liverpool play to their ability, we're in for a tough game, as we know. But if they play like they've been playing, they've been vulnerable at the back. We've got to go at them and hit them hard. And if we do, I fancy Arsenal, and that's not me being cocky and arrogant. We've got a chance here to go 14 points. If you'd have told me at the beginning of the season, by October you'll be 14 points in front of us, I would have I wouldn't have believed you. You know what I mean? So that's where we are at this moment in time. Please, just make sure we do it.
Sorry, Jane, before you come in, just to repeat again, the key word for me is the R word, ruthless. What I don't want to happen is us to have another game. I'm still haunted by that Man City game at home last year, where we were the better team than United this year. We were the better team and lost. I don't want to walk away from that game on Sunday. We played really, really well, but lost 2-1. We have to win. We have to win this game. We've got to be ruthless and take our chances. I don't think we'll get many chances personally. I don't think it'll be a game of 5, 6, 7, 8 chances. The ones we get, Jesus has to be clinical. Saka has to be on job. Martinelli has to be on job. We've got to kill them, because Lee makes a very good point. When it's the other way around, they don't hesitate to slap us 5-6-0. So we've got to really stick it on them this weekend as well and get out of there with 3 points.
Before James goes in, over the years, it just feels like any time, and this stretches back 10 years. It feels like every time Arsenal find a bit of momentum, when there might be a newfound belief, and don't get me wrong, in the last 10 years there hasn't been as high a belief as there is this season, but it just feels like every time there is a wave that we're riding, we get brought back down to earth in these big games. And I just feel like, I completely agree with all of you, including Lee in particular. This game is massive to eliminate that hoodoo where, in the biggest of big games, when the pressure is really on, we're brought back down to earth. I really want to go in there, and you look at Trent's performance level, and you look at Martinelli, and you can imagine the damage that he can do. You look at Jesus, and at times this season, Liverpool's defense have looked stiff in a transition. They've looked a bit, headless at times. Van Dijk hasn't been the same Van Dijk we've seen over the years. The way we're playing, I just feel like, a draw would be it'd be a disappointing feeling. It's not the end of the world, because you can continue building on it. And if you don't get the win, you're still 11 points ahead of Liverpool. And I think if anyone offered you that in the beginning of the season, come October, I think we still would have all taken that. It's about time now we change the narrative in these biggest of big games when the pressure's on. And you change the narrative by putting in a performance, and not only putting in a performance, because we put in a performance against City in January, but getting over the line with a W. James, would you go in, not necessarily all guns blazing, but would you go in trying to take advantage of their weaknesses this season and really go for it?
Yeah, you go for it. 100%. You back yourselves. I think what Jordan said was spot on about, let's not always worry about changing for others, especially when we are, as things stand, playing at least we're in the top 2 for most best entertainers in the league. And I think people are looking at us and City as the sides that are setting the pace. And we've earned that through our performances and our results. However, I feel slightly differently about this, in that a draw for me, I don't think I'd walk away with that sense of disappointment. Obviously, it kind of depends on how the game goes. Now, I'm not for 1 second saying I'd take a draw right now if I offered it, because I think that's a disservice to the performances we put in all season. Mm-hmm. I think we've played to a level that we could be so happy with the team. Liverpool, the contrary, they've dropped a few from the Liverpool we've been used to over the last 5-6 years. So I don't think any Arsenal fan should just take a point now if they were offered it, because we can go and do something. We can absolutely beat them this weekend. However, last year, Liverpool notched 92 points. They finished a point behind City, but they've got 92 points. Another unbelievable tally. I think that's Klopp's third over 90-point tally since he arrived in the Premier League. Now, City are another level, but he didn't actually beat any of the other top 4. That's Tottenham, Chelsea, or Man City, home and away last year. I think he drew, actually. Yeah. He drew all those games. So there's something to be said for, you're not losing those games. Those teams they don't beat you. You're too good to be beaten. But okay, you didn't quite get the win, but you did your job elsewhere, and you still racked up 92 points. So for me, this is more about Arsenal showing a really competitive level, coming out, hopefully making an impression on people, a little bit like we did in that Man United game, though we lost. But again, please don't bloody lose. And okay, you know what? If at the end of the day it's a point, you shake hands on it, you go again. For me, there won't be any feeling of disappointment, because this is still a very, very good Liverpool side, despite the form they're in. Now, this isn't the same Liverpool side. I think Mane is a massive miss to them. And clearly, they've lost a bit of confidence somewhere, because you can definitely get out of them, and Brighton have shown that. I think the only way I come out of this weekend with a real sense of disappointment is if we just don't really cause them any problems. We don't cause them any problems. We don't play off. We don't look confident. We kind of, the occasion maybe is a bit overwhelming for us, and we kind of fold a little bit. I'll be like, come on, guys. At some point, we've got to be able to really put these teams to the sword. And that doesn't mean just winning, but it means really imposing our game on them. So listen, I wouldn't take a draw if I was offered it, because we can beat them. I really, really believe we can beat them, and we should go for it. But I don't have this feeling that if we don't beat them and it's a draw, that it's another opportunity missed and it's the same old. We can't quite do it against the best two teams. I just think over the course of a season, if we're averaging draws against the Liverpools of this world and wins against the others, we're going to have a really, really, really good season anyway. So I'm not particularly worried about that.
Outwork them, we win the game. If we outwork this Liverpool team, we win the game because we're on form. We've got players that are doing really well. My only concern with this game is if Liverpool turn up and they actually put in a performance where they outwork us and it spooks us. If every single game this year, we've worked really hard from the get-go. It started really well. Pretty much every game this season. I need the same this weekend. If we start the game with the same intensity and we stick it on them early, even if we don't score early, but we make them know you're at the Emirates now. It's a different ground now. It's loud. We're going to press you. We're going to harass you. We're going to work you. They'll fold because they're in pieces right now.
But they know that. I just whatever we say, okay, all right, Nunez in for Mane, and that's clearly a downgrade as things are for now. But, watch him bloody score 2 now, I've said that. But this is a Liverpool side that, just look what they've done. 3 Champions League finals, 3 90-plus point tallies in the league. They've won a Premier League, they've won a Champions League. Last year, they had a quadruple run, a run like no other we've seen in English football, right? This is still an immensely talented group. And if there's one team at the moment that you're going to get up for, it's probably Arsenal away, because we don't have that City fear factor yet, where it's like, oh, they're going to beat us to 6. But also we're like, okay, these are the league leaders. Let's bloody show them what we're about. I just think, I think Liverpool will be really relishing their chances to almost just remind the league what they're about, because we do this and it's in the media and it's as fan bases. We kind of change our mind on teams so quickly. We're quicker to say Liverpool aren't as good as they were rather than say Liverpool are in bad form. And they'll want to prove that. They'll want to say, listen, we're still the same team. Shut up, all of you. We're just having a bad patch, but we'll get this back. And I still think Liverpool finish in the top 4. And I still think that they're going to hit a point this season where they start reminding teams how unbelievably exciting they can be.
I agree.
I exactly agree. And
even if we win this, James. Sorry, even if we win this, you think they'll get top 4?
Yeah. I think they'll get their act together. Yeah, I really do. I don't really know how that looks. Is that with Nunez leading the line? Maybe they get Jota back up there. But I just think you don't become a quadruple chasing side. You don't go from that to then we're struggling for top 4 overnight, unless there's a bit of an injury crisis. And a couple of years ago, a similar thing happened, only it was more injury related. It was behind closed doors. It wasn't the same Liverpool. Once they got a couple of players back and he tweaked a few things, they went on this 8 wins and 2 draws in the last 10 games to seal top 4. And then they went on a quadruple run.
Yeah, I think the argument was, sorry, Lee, but I think the argument with Liverpool is not that they're not. But yeah, I guess it is not that they're not as good as before. But I think when you go like you said, it was an unprecedented run they was on. They was close to winning everything. And when you get so close to doing it all and making history, and on the final lap you trip up, and in the big ones you walk away with the 2 lesser of the 4, let's say. That can be really damaging, especially when it comes kind of at the end of that squad or that team's era or cycle. And Pep really talked recently about refreshing your side every few years, because it's very hard to keep on winning and keep on get a high performance level year on year out with the same players and same team. But I agree with you. I think in the end they will get top 4. I hope this continues in terms of their bad form, because we've got them next. Lee, you was about to say something.
No, I totally agree. There's going to be a time when they're going to be good. But the one thing I will say about this is that I'm a big fan of Van Dijk. I think he's a really top player. He's not been quite in good form. And I imagine that every time he goes to bed before a game, he thinks, oh, I've got this one there. He's not in great form. He's coming up against Jesus on Sunday. I think he's probably thinking, oh no, of all the players, someone that can trick me, do little things and all that. I think for the first time he'd be a little bit worried come come Sunday, and that's what we've got to. I think a little bit of uncertainty is coming to their team because of not performing that well, so there's an opportunity to do it there. I'm with James. I agree that despite what happens on Sunday, I do think that they'll still be in the top 4 race. I think that they've got good players, but I also think that they've just lost a little bit. Their midfield now has aged a little bit. Henderson can't do what he was doing. Thiago doesn't stay fit so much. For me, Fabinho doesn't look the same player.
I love him, by the way, as well. I'm a big fan of his, really big fan. But you're right.
Yeah. But just not quite at it, And if you're not quite at it and you lose that little 5%, it does make a big difference at the top level. So it'd be interesting to see, where it goes there. But I just think that for the first time in a long while, that Van Dijk will probably be looking and thinking, and also Van Dijk, don't forget me, will be thinking, right, there's a new kid on the block that everybody's saying is bigger and better than me now, so I need to prove it. So it'll be an interesting game for me, this one. But if we can get at Van Dijk, unease him. If you can unease him, you unease the whole setup of Liverpool, and that's what we need to do.
Sorry, just a really quick one. I just think also people they didn't realise before, which staggers me. They're just realising how big Mane is and was for them.
Yeah, big loss.
He was always overshadowed a little bit by Salah unfairly. He was unbelievable. And I'm
looking at Jesus and Martinelli on that left-hand side, on Trent's side, to really cause problems. But we are at that time of the show. There is no change in the leaderboard. We all got a point for the Bulldog Glimp. None of us got the correct score right. A few close calls, but yeah, here we are. James and Lee tied at the top still with 11 points. I'm in third with 8, and Jordan's last with 7 points, still awaiting his first.
I think, well, we all a goal off. I wanted 3-1. Lee needed 4-0. Jordan was the only one who had it at one point, was 2-0. What was yours?
4-1.
4-1.
I've
got to say, that late flurry of attacks for Bodo, I was sort of sitting there thinking, go on, son.
Go on, son.
Go on, Bodo.
Well, go on.
Scumbag.
Go on, son. Give us your prediction on the Liverpool one.
2-2.
2-2. Okay.
Yeah.
2-2. Lee?
2-0.
2-0. All right.
To who, Lee? You didn't specify.
Oh, James. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're back
2-0 to the Arsenal.
Grace.
2-2, 2-0. I'm surprised no one's going with 2-1, so I'm gonna go with 2-1. I thought we would have heard 2-1 already, so I was gonna gear towards 3-1, but 2-1 Arsenal. Let's say 2-1.
How practical it is. Interesting. You had your backup scores. Yeah,
I need to make way. Look, 3 points.
This is massive, James. This is massive. You know what I mean?
It is. I had a goal of draw in my head again for some reason, but I'm gonna go 3-1. I'm gonna go 3-1 Arsenal. I'm going 3-1 Arsenal. For one of the very few times I'm going with my heart over my head. Actually, I think it'll be back-to-back 3-1 Premier League wins for the Arsenal. So yeah, I'm going 3-1.
There you go, people.
Right.
There you go, James. James has said 2-2. Lee's gone with 2-0. Jordan's gone with 3-1. I've gone with 2-1. We've all predicted a win against Liverpool at the Emirates this Sunday. Let us know your prediction.
No, one didn't.
So 2-2.
2-2.
Yeah, boy.
Oh yeah, he didn't, did he?
Mm.
Oh, I'll say it's a ritual. We'll go back to last season and say it's a ritual. But yeah, it is what it is. People, let us know your prediction in the comment section below. Give us your thoughts. Would you change anything? Tierney or Zinchenko? All of that. All of the discussions we've had. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. And as Lee said, comment of the week will be a weekly thing on the show. So look out for that. Look out for that.
Absolutely.
Hit the like button on the way out, and love for the love as always, people.
Thank you, Seth, for the support.
Thank you,